I am a candidate for Travis County District Attorney. The choices in this election are very stark. I am an attorney with over 30 years of experience. I began my legal career as a judge advocate in the United States Navy. I spent 5 years on active duty. My last assignment was as the staff judge advocate at the U.S. Naval Base in Sasebo, Japan. I served basically as the legal advisor to the base commander, and I was also the liaison between the base and the Japanese Facilities Administration Office. I was very proud as an American to represent our country in a foreign country. I returned to the United States after my 5 years of active duty. I went to work for the Social Security Administration as a staff attorney. I first went to Minneapolis. I didn't like the climate, so I transferred to an office in San Antonio. But I was somewhat stubborn about moving to Austin, so I quit my job and I started my own practice in Austin. I began as a solo practitioner with one office, and I grew my firm to one with 6 attorneys and 10 offices. Although it wasn't my intent to specialize in just Social Security work, because of my background having worked for the Social Security Administration, it essentially turned into a specialized practice. And it wasn't just Social Security claims, it's other types of claims, government claims, but we've served thousands and thousands of clients from all walks of life. Let's see, my opponent, let me compare my experience with that of my opponent. Actually, before I do that, with my experience, I both prosecuted and defended criminal defendants, which I think is pretty relevant for this office. My opponent, Jose Garza, has very limited experience. He has never prosecuted a criminal. He has worked as a public defender, which is admirable, but I believe that limited experience of representing just indigent defendants has kind of given him a jaded perspective about the criminal justice system. He has expressed more concern about the impact or burden of the criminal justice system on those who commit crimes, whereas I'm more concerned about the burden of crime on those who are victims of the crime. With over $600,000 of financial support from extreme ideologues like George Soros and Shaun King, Mr. Garza defeated the Democrat incumbent. Mr. Soros spent $400,000 in an 8-week period between the primary and the runoff to defeat the existing Democrat incumbent with another Democrat candidate. And I think we have to believe that that $400,000 wasn't just to replace one Democrat with a similar Democrat, it was a much more radical Democrat. And these ideologues have, over the last several election cycles, have spent millions and millions of dollars to replace experienced prosecutors with these extreme ideologues. And we can see in cities, well, where you're watching the news and you're seeing all the rioting and the looting, they are occurring in the cities, some of the cities where these radical DAs won election. And for example, the one in Portland, the police are still there, they're still funded, and they're making arrests, but the district attorney is refusing to prosecute them, and they're just being released back onto the streets to loot and riot again the next day. There's a district attorney in California who was elected with George Soros's help. I read in the news not long ago where she is taking a position that they need to downgrade the charges of looting wherever they can, and she sent a memo to her prosecutors instructing them to consider as one factor whether or not the looters needed the property they stole. There's no provision in law to consider that as a mitigating factor to downgrade charges, but that's what's happening. And so we can look forward to that in Austin if Mr. Garza is elected. In fact, Greg Casar on the city council has said that if Jose Garza is elected, that he will be the most progressive, meaning radical district attorney in the United States. And I think there's good reason to believe that.